You've been told your entire life that you need them, that without them, you'll never make it, that you're nothing without their approval, their guidance, their support. The world has built its walls around you, constructed chains to bind you to your perceived limitations, and somewhere along the way, you believed it. You were taught to fear the possibility of standing alone. You were shown a path where their presence was required for you to even take a single step. You've been conditioned to believe that the road to success is only paved when they walk beside you. But what if that's the lie they've been feeding you all along? The truth is this: they don't want you to realize how powerful you really are. They don't want you to see that the chains they've wrapped around you were never meant to protect you. They were meant to control you. They were designed to keep you weak, to keep you dependent, to make you think that their approval is the key to your survival. But you know deep down, something doesn't feel right, doesn't. Every time you've tried to break free, you felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on your chest. Every time you've tried to take a step toward independence, they've been there, pulling you back, whispering that you couldn't do it without them. And every time, you believed it. How many nights have you spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if you're enough on your own? How many times have you convinced yourself that you need their validation, that you need their support to get by? It's not weakness, it's human. We all crave connection. We all want to feel supported. But somewhere along the way, they used that need against you. They made you think you needed them to survive. They made you believe that without them, you would crumble, disappear, become nothing. And for too long, you bought into it. You let their doubts become your doubts, their limitations become your chain. But what if I told you that the truth they've been feeding you isn't the truth at all? What if I told you that you were never weak, never dependent, never as small as they made you believe? What if you've been living under their shadow for far too long, and the moment you step into the light, you'll see just how powerful you truly are? You've been living in their illusion, shackled by their idea of what you should be. But who said you had to be anything but yourself? Who said that you weren't enough, exactly as you are? You are not defined by their present. You never have been. Let's face it, the truth is harsh. The truth is, you've been duped. You've been led to believe that you're nothing without them. But I'm here to tell you, in no uncertain term, that you are everything with or without them. Their chains are nothing but paper tethers, easily broken by the sheer force of your will. You've carried their weight long enough. You've let their doubts poison your dreams long enough. But now it's time for you to see through the smoke, to shatter the illusions, and to walk into your power. The struggle you've faced, the rejection, the loneliness, the heartbreak, those are not signs of your weakness. Those are the fires that have forged you, the battles that have made you stronger. You are not a prisoner of their expectations, their judgments, or their lies. You are the hero of your own story, the force that will rise above it all. It's time you stop letting them define you. It's time you stop waiting for permission to be great. Because truth be told, you've been waiting for the wrong approval all along. In this world, we are all conditioned from the moment we begin to walk and talk. Society teaches us that we must rely on others for everything. Our parents, our teachers, our bosses, our friends. Each of them holds a piece of our destiny in their hand, or so we are made to believe. And with each step we take, with each moment that passes, the strings tighten. We begin to feel the weight of the world's expectations on our shoulders, pushing us down, chaining us to the belief that our worth is tied to the validation and approval of others. Think about it for a moment. When you were young, how many times did someone tell you, you need to work harder to be successful, or you need to impress them to get ahead? How many times did you hear that in order to move forward, you must please someone else? Whether it was a parent, a teacher, or a peer, their words echoed in your mind, planting seeds of doubt about your ability to succeed on your own. You were taught that the only way to gain recognition, to be seen, to be heard, was to conform, to follow the rules, and to submit to their expectation. This conditioning, this relentless pressure to please, to fit in, to seek approval, has become the chains that bind you. You're like a puppet on string, moving only when they tell you to, when they pull the cord, when they give you permission to act. At first, the movement feels natural, because you're doing what you're told, staying within the boundaries they set for you. But with every tug, you lose a little more of yourself. You start to forget who you really are, what you're capable of. You start to believe that your existence, your success, and your worth all depend on those strings, on the control they have over you. And every time you move, every time you seek their approval, the puppet master tightens their grip just a little more. And the truth is, they didn't help you rise. No, they kept you down. They fed you the lie that you needed them to succeed, to thrive, to be something more than you are right now. They told you that without their guidance, you would fall. Without their approval, you would fail. They made you believe that you needed them to open doors, to push you forward, to give you the chance to become your best self. But let me ask you, when has anyone ever truly helped you rise? When has anyone's approval, anyone's support, ever truly given you the strength to move mountains? When you were struggling, when you were fighting to survive, where were they? They were either silent or standing in the background, making demands, or waiting for you to come to them for help. They didn't empower you to stand on your own 2 feet. They only reinforced your belief that you couldn't stand without them. You've lived your life under the shadow of their expectations. You've allowed their words, their opinions, to dictate your choices, your actions, your entire existence. You feared that without them, the world would consume you whole. You feared the rejection, the failure, the humiliation. You feared being lost, adrift in a world that seemed too big, too unforgiving, too harsh. But that fear, it wasn't even yours to own. It was theirs. They planted it in you, they nurtured it, and they used it to control you. They told you that you were nothing without them, that your worth could only be measured by their standards. But what if that was the lie? What if the world you feared, the world that you thought would swallow you, was the very place where you were meant to rise, to stand tall, to prove them wrong? You see, the vulnerabilities you've carried, the insecurities that have held you back, have never been yours to bear. The fear that you weren't enough, that you would never make it, was instilled in you by them. It was never a reflection of your true strength. It was a tool, a weapon, used to keep you in line, to keep you dependent, to make you feel as if your very survival depended on their approval. They told you that you were fragile, that you were weak, but that was the lie. The truth is, you've always been strong. You've always had the power to break free. The only thing standing between you and your freedom was the belief that you needed them to survive. For years, you've believed that your destiny was tied to them, that your success depended on their validation. But now, you are beginning to see it, aren't you? The string, they were never real. The control, they were never yours to give away. You've been living in a prison of your own making, and the key has always been within your grasp. All it takes now is for you to see that the world will never swallow you whole. It will never crush you, and even if it tries, you will rise, because your power, your worth, has never been dependent on anyone else. It was yours all along. The first stirrings of change begin with a question. It's a question that will shake you to your core, a question that forces you to confront everything you've ever known about yourself, about your worth, about the life you've been living. What if your strength was never theirs to give? What if you've always had the power, the ability, the greatness within you, just waiting to awaken? For so long, you've believed that your success depended on their validation, their approval, their presence. You were led to think that you couldn't survive without them, that they were the gatekeepers to your happiness, to your future. But now, something is stirring inside of you, a flicker of truth. You start to wonder as the clouds of doubt begin to part. What if the power they claimed to hold over you was never theirs to wield? What if, in fact, the strength you've been searching for, the one you thought could only be found in others, has always been locked inside you, waiting for the moment you would claim it? This realization doesn't come all at once. It's subtle at first, a whisper in the back of your mind, a tiny voice that tells you are enough. You always have been. But that voice is drowned out by the noise, by the voices of the world telling you that you're nothing without their approval. But you know deep down, the shift is starting. You can feel the walls cracking, the chains loosening. The truth is, you've been living a lie. You've been living as if you were incomplete, as if your value was defined by the presence of others. But that's not the truth. The truth is, you've always been complete. You've always been whole. And now, it's time for you to wake up, to break free from the illusion. Imagine for a moment that the chains that have held you in place for so long are gone. Picture yourself rising from the ashes of your past, shedding the weight of your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. You're no longer waiting for someone to pull you up, to give you permission to stand tall. You are standing on your own 2 feet, stronger than you've ever been. You've emerged from the darkness, from the cocoon of your old beliefs, into the light of your true potential. It's an uncomfortable transformation. Change always is. But as you stand there, looking at the person you've become, you realize something. All of the struggles, all of the failures, the rejection, the pain, they weren't meant to break you. They were never meant to crush you. They were meant to shape you. Each rejection, each failure, each painful moment you've endured has molded you, has taught you resilience, has shown you just how powerful you really are. You didn't crumble under the pressure. You didn't fall apart when the world turned its back on you. No, you kept going. You kept fighting. And now, as you look back, you see that each of those battles was a lesson. Every scar is a reminder of your strength, your endurance, your unwillingness to be defeated. Now, you stand at the threshold of a new chapter. You stand in the light of your own power, no longer waiting for permission, no longer seeking approval. You are your own hero. You don't need anyone to tell you that you matter. You already know. You've realized that your worth doesn't come from others. It comes from within. You are the architect of your own destiny. The world doesn't define you. You define you. No one can hold you back anymore. No one can make you feel small, make you question your abilities, your value. You've broken free. You've reclaimed your power. And as you look ahead, you see a world of possibilities waiting for you. The doors that once seemed locked are now wide open. And the best part? You don't need anyone to unlock them for you. You hold the keys. You are limitless. Your potential knows no boundaries, no limits. You are your own force of nature, unstoppable, untouchable, unbreakable. You are not just surviving anymore. You are thriving. You are thriving because you've stopped waiting for the hand that never came. You've stopped waiting for someone to lift you up, to give you the validation you thought you needed. You've learned that the only validation you need is the one you give yourself. And with that, everything changes. You've transformed from the person who relied on others for survival into the person who no longer needs anyone to prove their worth. You are not just a survivor. You are a warrior. And warriors don't need anyone's permission to rise. They rise because it is their birthright. And now, it's your turn to step fully into that power. The world has a way of presenting itself as unyielding, as if the mighty institutions, the powerful individuals, or the societal forces that control the narrative have everything in their favor. They tell you that they are the ones who call the shots, that without them, you're powerless, insignificant, and insignificant in the grand scheme of things. They made you feel small, like a mere cog in their vast machine. But what happens when the tables turn? What happens when the puppet master loses control and the mighty fall from grace? This is the turning point, the moment when everything shifts. The very forces that once seemed unbreakable Those who once held the reins of power begin to falter. They begin to show cracks in their armor, exposing their vulnerabilities. The ones who thought they held all the cards, who believed they were the ones pulling the string, suddenly realize they no longer have the control they once had. While they were so consumed with their own power, you were quietly learning how to play the game, how to move and maneuver without their approval, without their constraints. You were learning how to build your own path while they were distracted with maintaining their grip on you. And now, as the world shifts around you, you realize something they never saw coming. You don't need them anymore. They need you. It's almost poetic, isn't it? For so long, they held you in the palm of their hand, dictating your worth, your success, your every move. And now, the tables have turned. They are no longer in control. The institutions, the individuals, the forces that once dominated your every decision are now looking at you in desperation. They see you growing, evolving, thriving in ways they never imagined possible, and they are scrambling to keep up, reaching out to you, hoping you will save them from the mess they've created. Now it's them who are weak, them who are struggling, them who are desperate for your help. It's a bitter irony, isn't it? They thought they were the ones who held the power, the ones who dictated the course of your life. But now, they see you standing tall, stronger than ever. While they stumble in the shadows of their own hubris, they need you more than you ever needed them. They need you to rescue them from their own failures. And this is where the true power lies. The very things that once oppressed you, that once made you feel small, are now crawling toward you, begging for your support, your expertise, your strength. And yet you know that you no longer need to rescue them. Their weakness is your strength. Their desperation is a reminder of how far you've come, how much you've grown. They no longer define your success or your worth. The power has shifted, and now it's you who holds the cards. Now it's you who controls the game. And in this moment, as the world shifts, and you see the once powerful forces faltering, you understand the depth of your transformation. You've transcended the dependency that once held you in place. No longer do you rely on their approval to determine your worth. No longer do you need their validation to fuel your success. You've risen above it all, and now the world is seeing you for who you truly are. You've become the hero of your own story, not just in your eyes, but in the eyes of the world. They thought you needed them to survive. They thought you would crumble without their support, without their guidance. But now, it's you who holds the power. You are no longer the one who is dependent. You are the one in control. And as you stand tall, watching the once mighty forces struggle, you realize something profound. The strength you've gained, the confidence you've built, and the power you now wield are yours and yours alone. You are no longer a prisoner of their expectations. You are no longer dependent on their validation. You are free. The world is yours for the taking, and you hold the power to shape your own destiny. Now, it's your time to rise, to claim what's rightfully yours, and to take your place as the true force of nature that you always were. The time for hesitation is over. The time for waiting, for wondering if you're capable, is done. You've spent far too long living in the shadow of others, clinging to the belief that their approval was necessary for you to rise. Now, the truth is clear. You are never weak. You are never less than. You are simply waiting for the right moment to awaken, to break free from the chains of dependency, and to step fully into your power. That moment is now. It's time to stop holding back, to stop playing small, and to finally embrace the limitless force that resides within you. You are not the person who needs validation from anyone else. You are not the one who waits for permission to succeed. You are the master of your fate, the architect of your future, and the creator of your destiny. The world is not here to dictate your path. You are here to carve it out, to claim your space, to rise above every obstacle, every doubter, and every force that once tried to hold you down. The time for weakness is over. The time for waiting is done. This is your moment, your opportunity to step into the world unapologetically, with the confidence of someone who knows they can't be stopped. You've already proven that you have the strength to overcome, the resilience to thrive, and the power to change your life. Now, it's time to take that power and unleash it on the world. No more waiting, no more asking for permission, no more hiding behind the shadow of others. Your strength is yours, and it has always been yours. You are unstoppable. You are the storm that will reshape the landscape of your life. You are the force that will break through every barrier, every doubt, every limitation that once held you back. This is your time to rise, to claim your place at the top, to step fully into your greatness. And when you do, know this: they thought you needed them, but now they're the ones desperate. Now they are the ones who will look at you in awe, wondering how they ever underestimated you, but it won't matter, because you've already moved beyond them. You've already become the person you were always meant to be. And in that moment, you'll realize the truth. They never had the power you thought they did. You always had it. And now, you'll use that power to shape the world in your image. So rise, stand tall, step into your destiny with the unwavering belief that nothing can stop you. You are your own hero. You always have been. Now it's your turn to lead,